Hello friends and welcome back to our homestead. I am back in a greenhouse and that could only mean one thing. That means I am sowing more seeds and I'm getting ready for the summer garden. So I have been approached with some questions about some of my techniques and why I do it. So I hope I'm explaining enough for you guys to understand what I'm doing. I learned my gardening from my parents, from my mom and papa. But I have to take into account that every climate is very different and every growing zone is so different. So last time I talked about this little tool that I have, Clyde's garden planner. Let me tell you, it's very useful. I am meeting people who have started their seeds way too early, way too early, and now they are fully established plants and people have no place to put them because right now here in my area in growing zone 6A, it is very cold. At night, we are about 28 to 30 degree Fahrenheit, and during the day, we're as high only as 40, 45. That is way too cold for even hardening the plants outside, especially those that are sensitive to cold temperatures. So I just want to encourage you guys, really pay attention to the tool, to when it is a good time to start your seeds. Know when is the last frost or estimated last frost, and then count 4 to 6 weeks from that back, and that's when you can start your seeds. Don't plant them outside too early until they're fully established and they have their independent leaves and they've been hardened outside on the wind, under the sun and everything. Because see, the growing lights are very like incubator environment, and it really protects them from the wind, from exposures. Okay, so this is for spring. The estimated last frost date for my area is about April 20th. So I'm gonna slide it 19, 20, something in the middle right here. Okay, April 20th. So now I'm gonna be looking at the codes of recommendations. This is the most commonly recommended, or this is the most commonly vegetables that common gardeners and homesteaders like to grow in their garden, including myself. This is what I like to grow. So I'm gonna look to see when it is recommended that I start my seeds. So here's a code for SI, indoor seeding dates. That's when I have to start the seeds. And here are my peppers and tomatoes right there. And it tells me SI, that's when means I have to start them. So if I slide this up, it tells me, am I in the right place? It tells me that I should be starting them March 22nd, the week between 22nd and 29. Between 22nd and 29. Did you guys see that? Let me move this back. So again, if I trace this up, between somewhere here. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Many people were so enthusiastic to start their seeds way too early as January, because they saw all the seed catalogs and they saw seeds being on the shelves in their local stores and they get super excited. But guess what? If we plant some of those plants outside way too early, it will kill them. So for example, tomatoes and peppers enjoy temperatures of at least 60 degrees to be planted outside. And again, let me slide. Here is the red line to my last frost date. And if I look at when it is recommended that I plant tomatoes and peppers into the ground outside, I'm going to slide this up. It says May 17th. So week of May 17th is a good time. I always like to play on a safe side when it comes to peppers and tomatoes and eggplant. They're very finicky. I go for the last weekend of May, simply because I know that the nights are not going to be below 60. That's what we want. We want warmth for these guys. Whereas other cool vegetables such as peas and spinach, they don't mind going outside when it's 40 and 35. You see that? So, or cabbage, 40. So they are cool vegetables that can sustain cool temperatures. So today I'm going to be starting seeds for peppers and tomatoes, and I'm going to bring them in a house, put them under growing lights. As always, we're going to start preparing the soil. In my case, I always use organic soil, and as you can tell, it's already a little moist. It came out of the bag this way, but I want to add a little bit more moisture to it, and I'm gonna add a little bit of this perlene, just to add, you know, to help with the moisture and with soil being nice and fluffy. Not too much. I'm not gonna say that I put a lot. I don't know, probably a quarter of a cup, maybe a handful. In gardening, I really don't measure many things, so I'm just gonna mix everything together. I'm definitely happy that I'm gonna be adding some some water, because I see some dry patches of soil. How much water am I adding? I'm adding enough water that when I mix all of the soil and I test it, I want it to be clumpy. I want it to create a clump in my hand, okay? So, because we want plenty of moisture for the seeds to germinate. Okay, so I just want to make a quick correction. So if you stopped watching me already, too bad, because I want to correct myself on something real quick. I realized that I might have inadvertently gave you wrong information. All right, back to my Clyde gardener planner. When it talks about the temperature ready for planting outside, it's not really talking about the temperature of the, in the environment. It's talking about the temperature of the soil. So that means the soil has to be warmed up during the day, and even if there are cool nights, the soil will remain nice and warm. Okay, so let's see, no, a little bit more water. I'm seeing that I need a little bit more water. All right, so at this point of my planting, I do not fertilize the soil. I do not fertilize the seeds, because there's some natural fertilization that's usually added in the potting mix at this time, and I don't add. However, once the plants, the little seedlings pop out of the ground, okay, pop out of the ground and create two of their own leaves, I usually transplant them out of this tiny little cells. Let me show you this tiny little cells. Look how little they are. They're little. There's not much soil in there. Once those plants have two independent leaves, and I have a video about that, so please go and watch it. I'm going to put up a link right now, and also we'll attach it in the description box. Please go and watch it, because it's important that at that time we transplant them into a bigger container, giving them more room to grow, okay? And that's when I do my first fertilization, okay? I always use organic fertilizers, and from that point on, I'm going to be fertilizing every 2 weeks. Okay, I think the soil is good. What do I mean? Like, I hear the moisture, okay? And look at the clump, it made a clump, okay? So the soil is ready. So now I'm going to be filling up the trays with soil. And there's no real science to it. Just dump and spread. All right, dump and spread. And I'm gonna try not to overfill it, because once I fill them all up, I'm gonna see areas that needs more soil. I'll show you what I mean. I'm sure it's fun to start the seeds. Everyone has all that enthusiasm in the beginning of the season, and they're like, yes, I'm starting seeds indoors, and I have growing lights, and I spent crazy money on Amazon for these growing lights. Did you know you can buy growing lights at Lowe's and Home Depot for a lot cheaper? As long as there is no word growing lights on the packaging, they're not going to be very expensive. They're not going to be very expensive at all. So fluorescent lights, or office lights, sometimes people call them, are going to be sufficient enough. So what I do now is, if my camera is shaking, I apologize. I'm making the soil settle, okay? So now I'm going to be adding a little bit more in the corners. I can see it's low there, okay? Because some of the soil will settle, okay? And it's not going to be enough. All right, I think this is good. Okay, so now to actual seeding time. It's a messy job. Gardening is a messy job, but it's okay. Somebody has to do it. I'm loving my new gardening boots. They're huge on me, but I love them. They're so easy to put on, slip right in and out, and they have a good grip, so I don't slide in the mud when I'm working outside or going to feed my animals. Very, very good. I'm very happy that I got them. I recommend for beginning gardeners and homesteaders to get this kind of boots. Slip in and out, very, very easy and convenient. Okay, so I'm going to be trying this organic Burpee's Long Keeper tomato. And it says here that I need to start in a warm, well-lighted area 6 to 8 weeks before planting outdoors. And I need to sow them about a quarter of an inch deep. So let me just put a little bit on my hand. Okay, and there's not many seeds at all. Goodness. All right. So here are the tiny little seeds. Tiny little seeds. So some gardeners prefer to put 2 in each cell, hoping that out of 2, 1 will come up and germinate, and if the other one germinates, they sacrifice it by cutting it down once one of them develops 2 independent leaves. I have to say, I'm one of those people who cannot do that. I cannot kill one of the tomato plants. I'm like, no, look at it, it survived, it's gotta live. So I'm one of those people who only puts 1 seed per cell. All right, I only put 1 seed per cell. So again, I'm hoping that they survive. I'm gonna say a quick prayer, okay? And as always, it's important that you label what's in that tray. Also, I don't have enough. Let me see if there's 2 in some of them. No, they're all individual. Okay, so what I like to do now is I take a little bit of seed starter soil, just a little bit. It's pretty dry, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to gently dust it above, because those seeds need to be covered by about a quarter of an inch of soil. That is very little. That is so little, my friends. Okay, so I'm just gonna lightly dust it on top. Okay, tap it on top. Make sure that they're all covered gently. Okay, make sure all my seeds are under this fluffy soil. A little bit more. All right, done. Okay, so again, I'm gonna tap just a little bit. I'm gonna make sure that I put up a label here, to know what's in here, okay? All right, it's gonna go here in a corner, and I will know exactly what's in here. Now, I'm gonna take the same little bit of water that I had there, and I'm just gonna gently run across and give a little bit of a drink to each and every cell. Not too much, just a little bit. All right, just to make sure that all that dry soil on top settles. And I'm gonna continue covering everything and seeding everything in the rest of the trays. Now, one of the things I've learned, and happens to me quite a lot, is that if I am mixing several different species of plants, it is important that they will grow, germinate, and grow at a similar time. I'll tell you what happens to me each and every time. Goodness, it happens to me all the time. So, for example, this one germinates already, and already this much, half an inch out of the ground. These did not even decide to germinate because it's slow germinating. So there is a rule. Okay, let me show you something. After I'm done with everything's going to be covered with this plastic dome to create a greenhouse effect. to keep the moisture in, to keep the heat in, okay? But as soon as they germinate, I'm taking that dome off and it's going to be open to air. But what happens if that this section germinated and they're growing beautifully and these guys have not even decided to germinate? It's a problem. How am I going to uncover this and keep covered this part? So it is important that when you're planting something, try to plant things that are similar in nature and similar in germination. So they will all pop up at a similar time, maybe a day or two apart, okay? And that way, they will have no problem living in the same, under the same dome of the greenhouse, okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm just gonna continue putting all my seeds here. All right, I had a question, and hopefully I can answer that, about heating pads. I know that there are heating pads for sale for germination of seeds. And I used them one season and I've decided I don't need them because I like to bring my seedlings, my trays in the house. Some people keep them in a basement or in a garage where it's cool. I bring mine in the house and I put them, as a matter of fact, in the warmest room in my house. And how do I know it's the warmest? It's because that's where the pets like to hang out. If the cats and dogs like to hang out in that room, guess what? It's the warmest one. I also hang growing lights. My growing lights don't produce heat. They produce light and they produce the color of light just like the sun. And I turn it on early in the morning and I turn it off in the evening around 8 p.m. So the plants get, seedlings get about 12 hours of daylight, okay? All right, so let me just, again, dust it over gently, cover everything, and it's gonna go in a house. Okay, that's done. A little water, a label, and that's it. So friends, please share your gardening experiences and stories and how you do things. I would love to learn. I would love to have other people a chance to read your comments. Or you may have a question, and you know what? Sometimes when you ask a question, that's the best way to engage other people in a conversation and help you to identify what things that need to be addressed. And you may learn something and you allow other people to learn as well. Okay, so let me label this, and that's it. That's it. All right, these guys are gonna go in a house. Okay, according to this packet, they should germinate in about a week. And they need about 75-degree temperature. Okay, friends, so the seeds are happy in a soil and they're gonna be ready to germinate in about 7 to 10 days. I'm gonna bring them in a house, in a warm room. Now, if you don't have a room, warm space, put them on the temperature regulated growing mats. That's gonna provide enough temperature of heat for them without burning them. But in my case, I don't use them anymore because, like I said, my house stays nice and warm and throughout the day, throughout the night. Also, the growing lights, and I mentioned to you that there's no need to spend crazy money on those specialty growing lights. You can buy regular fluorescent lights, that office lights sometimes they call them, and they have them in different lengths, 14 inches and even longer, and they will provide proper amount of lighting. Before they germinate, before the seeds germinate, there is no need for the light to be even turned on. But I turn it on so I don't miss the chance, because as soon as they pop out of the ground, as soon as you see the tiny little bud coming up, they already need the light to grow. Okay. Lights I turn on for about 12 hours a day, from early morning till in the evening, and then I shut it off, and then I start the next day again. And then what else? Oh yeah, the light's about 3 inches above. So as the plant gets taller, lift up the light a little bit higher. Otherwise, if the light is way too high, the plant is going to be very leggy because it's trying to reach for the sun. It's trying to reach to the light. Okay. So I hope you guys are encouraged to grow a garden this year. Set a goal for growing enough food for a year. Think about it. You're going to provide your family with healthy, chemically free foods from growing and eating fresh in the season, and then preserving and eating throughout the winter months. And then in the winter, do a winter garden just like I do. So if you have not attempted that, watch my video. I do how I grow vegetables in the winter in New England in my greenhouse. So it's cool without heat. So it's pretty cool. Right now we're enjoying beautiful greens to eat. So friends, be encouraged and try something new.